I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos.
Hello there, Price of Reason here with a series review. After episode 8 of the Quantum Leap sequel series, the production took a lengthy break, and I was really hoping showrunner Martin Giro would use that time to fix some of the show's ongoing issues. Unfortunately, episode 9 was perhaps the worst we've seen until now. In The Leap itself, the plot resembles a bargain basement version of The Bodyguard with Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston, but it's set in 1979 with Ben Song and Carly Farmer, a singer that's supposed to be a cross between Carly Simon and Stevie Nicks. Ben is Carly's bodyguard, and he has to make sure she doesn't get killed, but it's hard to do since the information he has from the future doesn't appear to be very accurate. By the end of the episode, Ben finds the killer in time to save Carly, and then he leaps. In present day, the Quantum Leap team talk about their feelings a lot, while Chief Security Officer Lady flies to Belize to apprehend Al Calavicci's annoying daughter, Janice. As usual, I will scrape together a few positive things I can say about this episode, and then I will talk about what I didn't like. Number 1. Deborah Ann Woll. In case the Carly actress seemed familiar to you, it's because she was Karen Page in both the series Daredevil and The Punisher. While I generally think that she's a decent actress, there's really not much she can do to save this episode. I actually kind of feel bad for her. In the past, she was on 2 of the best shows ever made, and now she's guest starring on one of the worst shows ever made. Quite a contrast. Number 2. Life-saving. At the beginning of the episode, I like the idea of Ben saving Carly's life, but this brief scene is really the only bit of suspense we have in the episode, and it's not enough to make it even remotely interesting. Number 3. Hologram entrance. I've complained in the past how Ben's disappointed fiancé just shows up without any type of entrance, and it looked like they tried to fix that. It's still not very good though, and doesn't hold a candle to Al's entrances in the original show, but at least they made an effort. Well, that was the good. Now let's talk about the bad. Number 1. Raymond Lee. After a few episodes where he gave better performances than usual, this time around he goes back to his default, uncharismatic self. There's really no way around this. Lee, from day one, has never been a good fit for this role. He could play a supporting role, maybe even on this series, but he never shows enough character to be a strong leading man. This becomes especially noticeable when he's in a more action-orientated leap like this one, which doesn't really fit Lee's overall laid-back and subdued vibe. Number 2. The set. During most of the episodes until now, the show's sets have felt rather cheap and unconvincing, and they always seem like they're filmed on some studio backlot or green screen. This episode seems even cheaper than usual. If they didn't tell you this episode takes place in 1979, you probably wouldn't know, as nothing feels like it's from that era. To make matters worse, there's about 3 rooms you see in this episode and multiple scenes in each, probably due to cost-cutting measures. The original show had so much on-location shooting and cool sets that they always felt much more representative of their leap time. This is a key ingredient that is required to make a time travel show work, but this production just can't seem to pull it off. Number 3. Writing. Ben having to find a killer seems like it could have been an interesting opportunity to tell a good story, but unfortunately, the writers fumble it big time. By the time the killer is revealed, I somehow couldn't care less about it. Things just play out in such a predictable and lackluster way. The writing feels messy and unimaginative, even more than usual, if that was even possible. Number 4. Janice Calavicci. What a disservice they've done to Dean Stockwell's Quantum Leap legacy when this is supposed to be the daughter of Al Calavicci, the daughter that he raised. Her behavior is just insufferable every time you see her, and this time most of her screen time is shared with Chief Security Officer Lady, who herself is an insufferable sourpuss. Number 5. Agenda peddling. Random office guy person has always seemed like a character that's in the wrong show. I understand that they're trying to present him as gender liquid, which could work on some shows, but it just seems out of place at a top-secret government facility that's being monitored by the Pentagon, even in 2023. Sometimes he wears cocktail dresses to work, sometimes he's dressed like a cat. In this episode, his attire is actually fine for a change, but of course, he then has to talk about how liquid his gender is, or something along those lines using cringe-worthy dialogue. Sometimes I feel like the only reason this character exists here is so the network can tell the press that they support gender liquids. And it's not really the actor's fault. He's a better actor than Chief Security Officer Lady. But instead of a serious scientist, he always just comes off as a silly goofball. So you can never really take him seriously. Number 6. Disappointed Fiancé. While everything I mentioned until now are major issues in the episode, none are more major than Ben's disappointed fiancé, who is even more annoying than usual this time around. In fact, this character's presence as Ben's hologram has never weighed the show down more than she does in this episode. You see, Ben's disappointed fiancé is more disappointed than ever, because Ben didn't tell her that he was leaping to save her life, and now he also can't remember why. There's so much whining and emotional nonsense, and it really interferes with Ben's leap in 1979, but also when she's in present day talking to her colleagues. They try giving her a few scenes with Ernie Hudson, but it seems like even he's just going through the motions at this point. It's as if he's telling himself, fuck it, at least I'm getting paid to be on this shitty show. The result is that this episode feels more like an episode of Days of Our Lives, and not at all like a sci-fi time travel show. Just a bunch of non-stop, boring, soapy drama, but the biggest moment that you understand why this show absolutely sucks is when Carly wants to kiss Ben. He brushes her off because he already has a disappointed fiancé hologram that's monitoring all of his movements. In the original show, they would make Sam actually develop feelings for her as a romantic interest, but on this show, Ben can't have love interests because he isn't allowed to be a man. So at the end, the whole idea of the bodyguard type of story just falls apart, and it's not interesting. But to make matters worse, the whole idea of recreating a type of Kevin Costner, Whitney Houston bodyguard story doesn't even work here, because he's not allowed to have a love interest, so there's nothing at stake. So you never care if she's going to get killed or not. You don't care about anything. You're just sort of waiting for the episode to end. Now, since I know a few of you in the comments will probably mention it, I wanted to address the news that this stinky show has been given a second season. The thing is, it is by no means considered a big hit, but from what I understand, there's at least a few people watching it on Peacock, NBC's streaming service. Considering the show's relatively low budget, and the actors probably getting modest salaries as far as network TV goes, perhaps it's worth it for NBC to produce more episodes of this. If you compare it to what's happening on most other networks, it's not considered a hit at all. But more disappointing, until now, I don't see that the renewal announcement positively affected the show's quality in any way. If anything, I would say the opposite is true. It's as if they feel emboldened now to make the show even crappier than before. In any case, as long as they're making episodes, as a longtime OG Quantum Leap fan, I will do my best to post my reviews here, even though it's been a disaster until now. If the quality does improve, I will be honest and tell you so. I'm not looking to dislike this show just for the sake of disliking it. On the contrary. But what can I do? It really does suck. What did you think of Quantum Leap Episode 9? Did you love it? Feel free to let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel and clicking on that wonderful notification bell. Thanks for watching, my friends. Thank you, and good day.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos. Brum.